Let it be known that I received a free review copy of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD courtesy of Nintendo of America. Keep in mind that this does not influence my opinion in any way, shape, or form of the game. With that said, let's begin.
Nintendo News by me.
It was evident that Nintendo has been keeping themselves busy remaking older Zelda titles for current generation systems. We've seen the Wind Waker and two Nintendo 64 classics, Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, hit the Wii U and 3DS respectively. The Legend of Zelda franchise has been getting quite a bit of love lately with these remakes, considering the fact that this is probably Nintendo's way of making up the wait for the new Zelda game being developed for Wii U. I will admit, my first Zelda game was with the Wind Waker HD, and I love that game to pieces. So needless to say, I was super excited to try out Twilight Princess on the Wii U, and that glorious HD in the story I never did experience 10 years ago. So keep in mind that I will be comparing it to the original, as I still do know what it's all about. So I'm not really going in with a blank slate, but just without the knowledge of what happens in the story or anything like that, which won't be spoiled for you in this review. And I have my thoughts gathered about the game, and it took a while, if I'm being honest, because it kind of felt like a drag, in the beginning anyway. I felt like I was doing a bunch of side quests until I got to the actual story of the game about an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours in. That is, after I herded a bunch of goats into a barn twice, found a baby cradle, you know. It was a series of super important tasks that had a major role in the story. But in all seriousness, that felt kind of unnecessary. Without spoiling anything, I found myself running through the woods in circles for a good 20 minutes before I found something that I was searching for. And speaking of that, you learn the same thing most Zelda games have been known for. Hyrule is in trouble when evil is sent its way. And of course, it's up to our main man Link along with his partner in crime Midna to stop them and defeat the Twilight Realm. Before I go any further, this is obviously an adventure that some people have already taken once before, years and years ago, when the original one for the GameCube and the Wii port released, and trust me, you can kind of tell. Right as I booted up the game, I already saw its age. The textures are nice, though it would have been nice to see the polygons reworked with things like the characters and platforms. And to be honest, it really doesn't look like that much of an upgrade to me. I mean, I'm glad Nintendo polished the game a bit more, but there's obviously more that they could have done to make it look fresh. They decided to keep the game at 30 frames per second. Why? I honestly have no clue. Things look a bit more glowy compared to what I've seen of the original, and while the new textures and other minor upgrades like that are nice, in all honesty, there's so much more they still could have done. I mean, don't get me wrong, it still looks great, but you get what I'm saying. Does that affect the gameplay as a whole though? Not so much. And something else I noticed that seemed a bit off were the controls. While most of the time they weren't a bother, I had a bit of trouble at certain points making certain jumps or even riding Epona. At times, if you're like me, you try to dodge enemies because you're bad at combat and you end up getting chased by them. But jumping onto ledges to continue forward sometimes messes up the footing, even when you're getting on a ladder or just a simple platform. But that was only a rare occurrence for me. But with those minor things aside, wow, this game has a lot of good things about it. For example, I wanted to talk about the characters for a second. Link is basically a village boy in the beginning of this game, but just like every other Zelda game, you, the player, are the chosen one. But as I played along, I got that wonderful rush of courage, of wisdom, and power. See what I did there? For real though, you grow as Link does in the game. You grow together, and I love that about Zelda games, and this one is no different by any means. He isn't alone this time though, as he has Midna as a companion for most of the journey. She is something else, let me tell you what. She's a very quirky character that is pretty much the entire reason this game functions the way that it does. She acts as the witty sidekick, while she's very intelligent as a character. Believe me, do what she says. She's like one of my favorite things in Zelda period now. She's that interesting. And then, of course, there's Princess Zelda, and I can't help but wish she was in the game just a little bit more, even if it was just in cutscenes. She has an interesting story to tell too, but is trapped inside the walls of her own castle as she watches her kingdom collapse. That's about as much as you get to know about the characters, as I don't want to give too much of it away. But you may just already know, considering the original game was from about a decade ago. However, I believe I'm missing something, like the temples and the dungeons, and everything else pertaining to that maybe. As somebody new to the game, I can honestly say that for the most part, the puzzles and mysterious vibe each area has are really what make the game shine. Admittedly, as I am not a seasoned Zelda veteran just yet, there were quite a few occasions where I was completely baffled about where to go or how to do a given task. But that's what Zelda games are about, right? On the other hand though, some fields and cave-esque areas seem a bit dragged on, whereas an area like Death Mountain per se would seem pretty straightforward. Overall though, getting from point A to point B is pretty simple if you know where to go, how to beat the bosses, and etc. But the saves, the saves. Saving your game is crucial to any title, including this one. The only thing that really grinds my gears about Twilight Princess HD is the fact that when you save your game after you get to a certain point and you quit, once you boot the game back up, you'll start again in a preset starting area. It isn't a big deal, but there are certain tasks that, as a Zelda rookie, take a few tries. So once I complete said task, then take a break after I save because that was a lot of work. It's kind of aggravating to have to replay a certain area to get where you once were. But again, not a huge deal as it is still tolerable. And what is a Nintendo game without that amiibo support anymore, am I right guys, or am I right? Twilight Princess HD brings that back. And you know how I love a good looking amiibo. Me being the addict that I am, purchased the Wolf Lake amiibo, which looks really nice by the way. And it unlocks a new mini-type dungeon thing known as the Cave of Shadows. It's alright, but it really doesn't add that much to the game in my opinion. It seems like it was made more for Zelda vets. Speaking of amiibo though, the Link and Toon Link Smash figures replenish your arrows, and Zelda's and Sheik's amiibos do that for your hearts. And the Ganondorf amiibo, that lets you take twice as much damage as you normally would in the game. But overall, aside from amiibo, the graphics, music, everything, what is Twilight Princess HD? Would I recommend it to anybody? Let me just tell you now. The answer to that question is definitely. Aside from the kind of aged graphics, the giant, almost too expansive fields, and once in a while finicky controls, I have really enjoyed this game. I love the idea of transforming from wolf to human, as both forms introduce different gameplay mechanics. Riding on Epona through Hyrule is amazing, and the game can even get a little relaxing at times, playing through each dungeon. As for someone who hasn't played the game, I'm happy to say that I would highly recommend this to any new Zelda fans, as it does a decent job luring you into the franchise's immersive world. If you have already played the original and don't really care for improved graphics or slightly better controls, then I would say probably pass, as that is basically all this game offers is a remake, or port, or whatever you would like to call this. But dang, this game, it is so good, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you for watching my review of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD, and I will talk to you next time. Hello all you lovely people, I just want to say thank you so much for watching my Twilight Princess HD review. It was so cool to get the game from Nintendo, so thank you guys very much for the review copy. I hope you enjoyed as well. But for those of you that are new around here, if you like this, what you saw, everything about this channel, hit that subscribe button because it would really help. Thanks for watching, see you next time.